The following podcast contains alcohol-enhanced conversations about alcohol, as well as a potential for discussions about topics of dubious, disturbing, possibly offensive, but usually hilarious interest. The opinions stated herein are solely of the persons making them, and any endorsement of these opinions by any other party is not implied. Foul language is likely, but intolerant viewpoints are not. Listener intoxication is advised. Hello and welcome to episode 76 of the Whiskey Tangent Podcast. I'm Scott.
I'm Ed.
And today we're doing another deep distillery dive, this time an iconic popular Scotch brand that we've barely even mentioned on the podcast before, except to basically piss all over it. But today we're finally giving the brand its due, and that brand is Johnnie Walker. And here assessing these whiskeys with us is a man you've not heard on the podcast in over 3 years, when he appeared on our now classic episode number 41, Scotch Fest 2021, in which we tasted 7 scotches, 6 of which he brought with him. But now he's back, the closest thing we have to a Scotch expert, Joe.
Gentlemen, thank you for having me back on the episode.
Yeah.
I thought I dressed for the occasion, but I find it kind of weird that you two are sitting here naked for some reason.
Hot. It's been a heat wave, Joe. I don't know if you've been paying attention.
We're just trying to cool off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, of course, you're coming from a much more frigid weather of your trip to Scotland and Ireland.
Yeah.
Yes,
We sent
Scotland, Ireland.
Joe on assignment for the podcast to do on-site research for this episode.
That's right.
And somehow he never made it to Johnnie Walker. Was the only reason we sent him there.
Yeah. So, and now Ed's here to tell us about the 5 core whiskeys from Johnnie Walker and one additional one.
Right, a wild card that I picked up today.
Yeah, that we'll be trying and perhaps decrying tonight.
Right, so the 5 traditional expressions of Johnnie Walker that we're going to explore today is the original red label, then the black label, their gold label reserve, the 18-year, and then the famous Johnnie Walker Blue, which is all anybody asks us about. Yeah. Oh, you got a whiskey podcast? You ever have the Blue? Which immediately tells me that this person knows nothing about whiskey. And then the wild card one is a high-rye blended Scotch whiskey, so that should be interesting. And it's the only one that I think is 90 proof.
Yeah, the rest of them are all 80.
All 80.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a light night for us.
Yeah, and Joe doesn't have a huge love affair with Johnnie Walker, so it's going to be a nice neutral panel today to see if any of these hit home, and also depends on their price point, which are actually Johnnie Walker has many reasonable price whiskeys.
They do.
You know, besides the Obnoxious Blue.
Right.
Obnoxious Blue sounds like a moody cover band from like the 80s. Well, here's another one for Morrissey fuckers.
Yeah, they do Cure covers.
Right.
I like it.
Right.
Yeah, so I'll just do the history.
Yeah.
And then we can get started tasting the first one.
Yeah.
The red. I think we're going to do red and black and then take a break.
Sure.
So this is from an article posted at marklittler.com titled Johnnie Walker, History of the World's Best-Selling Scotch by Hannah Thompson. Johnnie Walker was born on July 25th, 1805 at Todrig's Farm near Kilmarnock, Scotland. Following his father's death in 1819, Walker, just 14 years old, sold the farm and invested the proceeds in a grocer's shop. By 1825, he had expanded the business to also sell spirits, including rum, brandy, gin, and of course, whiskey. Despite being a teetotaler himself, in 1850, Walker went on to create his own brand of blended malt called Walker's Kilmarnock whiskey. Unfortunately, in 1852, all of Walker's stocks were destroyed, not by a distillery fire, as is usual in these stories, but by a flood, which almost put the family out of business. But they were able to hold on, and in 1856...
That takes Scotch and water to a whole new level, Scott.
But they were able to hold on, and in 1856, John's son Alexander joined the business, and they renamed the company John Walker & Sons, just in time for John Walker to pass away the next year at the age of just 52. Oh. Under Alexander's management, the company became a dedicated whiskey blender, aided by the Spirits Act of 1860, which legalized the blending of malt whiskey with grain whiskey, which previously wasn't allowed.
Really?
And it is in that year, 1860, that Alexander introduced the iconic square-sided bottle, whose shape enabled more product to be packed into the same space, simultaneously reducing breakage. In 1865, Alexander created the Old Highland whiskey blend, and by 1867, John Walker and Sons was selling 100,000 gallons of blended whiskey annually.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. Following Alexander's death in 1889, control of John Walker and Sons passed to his sons, Alexander II and George P. Walker. In 1893, the sons purchased the Cardew distillery to secure the source malt for their Old Highland whiskey, and during the next 30 years, they would go on to purchase several more distilleries, including Colburn, Kleinelish, Dalouane, Talisker, and Mortlock. But it was in 1908 that George Walker sought to overhaul the brand's marketing when he approached the famous cartoonist and illustrator Tom Brown to design a new mascot. During the meeting, Brown allegedly drew on a menu the first Striding Man figure, which depicts a gentleman attired in coattails, top hat, and cane. Originally, it was used only for advertising and didn't actually appear on their bottles until decades later. In 1909, the Old Highland range was renamed Johnnie Walker, and the existing expressions were rebranded as Red Label, Black Label, and the now defunct White Label. And to quickly gloss over a bunch of mergers and acquisitions over the past 115 years, they joined the Distillers Company in 1925, which was acquired by Guinness in 1986, which in turn merged with Grand Metropolitan to form Diageo in 1997. Along the way, they added 5 more expressions: the Blue Label in 92, the Gold Label in 95, the Green Label in 97, and the Double Black and Platinum labels in 2011. Today, Johnnie Walker, with their core lineup of 7 blended whiskeys that cater to all palates and budgets, is the best-selling Scotch whiskey brand on the planet, and it's not even close. With 22.1 million cases sold in 2023, it nearly triples the sales of its closest competitor, Ballantine's, and sells over 5 times more than the next closest rival, Chivas Regal.
That is crazy.
Isn't it? It's amazing. And the red just might be the most popular whiskey sold in the world. They argue that. We're not sure.
What's that selling for a bottle?
Oh, like 25?
Yeah, 25, 30 bucks.
A lot of cheap people out there.
Yeah, I mean, we see that with all the core brands, right? The White Label Jim Beam, the regular Wild Turkey.
Coors Light and Bud
right.
Light.
Yeah.
I tried to look up the most popular whiskey in the world, and what I found was Johnnie Walker is 4th behind 3 brands that sell in India.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that doesn't seem fair.
I know, right? I'm reading these things, and they don't actually sound Indian. They sound like English is what they sound like.
It's like when Rolling Stone puts out like the greatest card plays ever, and there's like somebody from 1927 that none of us ever heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, like One-Eyed Willie Walker. Yeah. You know, his famous 5-string guitar. You know, it's like, all right, Rolling Stone.
I was like, where are these whiskeys? And I looked them up, and they're all sold in India. They have a lot of people there, and they do like their whiskey.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So the Red Label, which is we're going to taste first, is one of their oldest. It was originally released. Walker's Special Old Highland was the name in 1906. The blend was renamed Red Label in 1909 when the Johnnie Walker brand was created, composed of 30 different whiskeys, they say. The Johnnie Walker Red Label has held the #1 position as the world's best-selling Scotch whiskey since 1945 and is now available in over 180 countries. 88 more countries than the Whiskey Tangent podcast, which is available in 92.
Well, we're actually available everywhere. We just haven't been listened to everywhere.
Right. We've been tasted in 92 countries. The proof is 80. There's no age statement, but they believe it's at least 3 years old. I mean, they don't do anything in Scotland in less than 3 years.
Right.
I mean,
you can't call it a Scotch if not.
Yeah, it's a blend of malt and grain. You can get anywhere from 25 to 30, like we said. And traditionally, from what I read, and I think the last time we talked about it on the podcast, it was kind of made as a mixer.
Yeah.
This is when you see the old movies where they take the seltzer bottle and they shoot it into the glass of scotch. This is what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to mix this with some club soda or some seltzer and make a scotch and soda. And so this is their lowest expression. We're going to taste it right now.
Yeah. I mean, we've all had this before.
Yeah, but my God, it's been years.
Because we didn't really like it.
Joe's been on the podcasts more recently than I've had this.
That's for sure. Yeah, Joe was making a face when he smelled it.
Already,
we're not even going to smell. I'm taking this right to the head, and we're going to talk about it.
It smells like beer, is what it smells like to me. It smells like stale beer and green apples.
It's amazing to me that this is the #1 selling Scotch in the world.
Yeah,
right. No complexity whatsoever.
It tastes like an incomplete spirit to me. Like they're not done. Like you need to put it back in the barrel for another 5 years or something.
Maybe it's 3 months, not 3 years.
Taste wise, I get a little smoke. I get a little green apple.
Yeah, it's not balanced at all.
Yeah, it's not that off-putting. I'm not going to enjoy it, though. You know what I mean?
No.
So it's unsatisfying.
That's well put. That's how I'm thinking of it right now.
Yeah.
You can drink this all day, but
And maybe,
Why?
Right.
But why would you?
And maybe if I put this in a Rob Roy, what is it, Rusty Nail? What is the
Yeah,
Scotch?
both of those.
Yeah, if I put this in a Scotch cocktail, maybe that's the way to do it because it's cheap. I don't know.
To me, this tastes like applesauce in an ashtray.
Oh my God.
Like, it's very average. Got that smoky part to it, but it's like stale cigarettes.
Right. Now, if this is all you drink and you acquire a taste for this, all right, I can see how that happens. That's fine.
Yeah, I guess if you take big gulps of it or do shots of it.
What the hell's in it, Rob Roy? It's like a...
I think a Rob Roy is almost like
a Manhattan?
the Scotch Manhattan.
Yeah, so
There
so
might
you
be
take
vermouth
this,
and
you
stuff
put
in it.
vermouth in it, and
Bitters.
you're hiding the flavor anyway, so you just want the Scotch.
And like we said, this was made to mix into drinks.
Right.
Yeah.
They made this as a mixer, and they openly say if you want to sip on something, go get the Black Label. It's literally $5 to $10 more.
So we do have tasting notes from the whiskey shelf. Sure. We'll go through them just to see what other people taste in this.
Yeah, sure.
See what we're missing, I guess. On the nose, creamy honey, vanilla, dried strawberry. I guess apricot, peach,
Honey, I can see.
roasted grains, and a hint of roasted oak. On the palate, honey, vanilla, biscuit, starfruit, strawberry.
Starfruit's an amazing reach. Go ahead.
Yeah, peach, roasted oak, roasted grains, and a gentle hint of smoke, and something lightly bitter that feels out of place.
Oh, all right. Well, that was my whole tasting note, but
Yeah.
I'm glad they put it there at the end.
The finish is light and quick with more honey, vanilla, starfruit, and oak, plus
Light and quick.
a light mintiness.
If it was heavy and quick, that would be me in college in the sack. But anyway,
Oh, wow.
all right, maybe cancel that. But anyway, so Black Label.
Before we get canceled.
Black Label.
Yeah.
Now, when I think of Johnnie Walker, this is the one I think of. This is, to me,
Mm-hmm.
the one I think of that I always saw in people's home bars. Everybody had a black. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
just like back in the day, they had a Dewar's, they had a Cutty Sark, and they had a
I
black.
once had Johnnie Walker Black on my
Right.
bar.
I bet when you first got into Scotch, this was like one of the first ones you drank.
Exactly. One
Right.
of the first 5 bottles I bought. Actually, could not wait to get rid of it because I found much better
Right.
scotches.
Yeah.
But I think when you first get into it, it's either go Chivas 12 or you go Johnnie Walker Black. They're the two blended scotches. They're both 12 years, and they compete with each other.
It's kind of like Jack Daniels. When you get Jack Daniels, you like it, go move up to like Gentleman Jack.
Right.
And then the single barrel. So that's kind of what we're doing here. We're going to go up the chain.
So the Black Label is the original Johnnie Walker expression. First sold as Old Highland whiskey when Alexander Walker created the blend in 1865. Then it was renamed as the Extra Special Old Highland when the range of products was expanded in 1906 and subsequently changed to Black Label in 1909. It is blended from up to 40 different whiskeys from the four corners of Scotland. It's 80 proof. Age is at least 12 years. Mash bill is again malt and grain blend. The price is between $30 and $40. And as Joe said, it's the cornerstone of most bars, and very rare that you walk in any restaurant or any restaurant bar worth a damn that you can't find Johnnie
Yeah.
Walker Black.
It's everywhere.
It's the Jack Daniels of Scotch, in my opinion. And I'm glad we just tasted the red because I think this is going to be quite different.
Yeah. I mean, because the red is so ubiquitous, I thought we have to taste the red just to
course.
get a base,
But I think a lot of people think the red's the original, but no, the red was created a little bit after, 30 years after, actually, for the point of mixing.
Yeah. And the fact that this was called Black Label back in 1909, that's incredible.
Already with the nose on the black,
Oh, yeah.
it smells like a scotch.
It's much better. You don't get
Oh.
any of the off notes that you were getting. Like, it doesn't smell like a stale beer like the other one did. You don't get any smoke on the nose, but I believe there's smoke on the taste, if I recall.
What I want to
'Cause
talk about the label is the labels are crooked intentionally. And I think this was originally something done by Johnnie Walker himself. In his store, he would do it as a way to get your eyes' attention to it. And when the brand hit liquor stores, then they kept it so that the label would be a little bit off and it would catch your eye when you scan across the shelves. Like,
Yeah.
oh, what's that? Very smart.
Yeah, that combined with the square bottles, because that was
Yes.
really innovative at the time as well.
Right. All right, let's taste this.
All right.
Wow, what a difference.
Oh, that's so much better.
This is such a nice drink. You could just drink this every single day and not have any glitch to it. There's a lot of good things about it.
Yeah.
Right, Joe? Go ahead.
It's
Talk
been a
about-
few years since I've had it in my bar. Absolutely better than I remember. And if somebody's looking to get into drinking scotches,
Yeah.
this is one you absolutely have to start with.
Yeah, because there is
Yeah.
some smoke on this.
Right.
You can
There
taste
is-
it.
I
Which
can
is-
taste a very
right.
subtle smokiness to it.
Yeah.
Which Chivas doesn't have.
No, it doesn't.
Chivas is starting the other kind of blends.
Yeah, that's
right?
more of the space side.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you want to start getting into smoky scotches, this is where you start. So you kids out there, you're 14 or 15. You're thinking about, hey, what do I want to drink? Not this summer, of course, but when I get older, when I turn 21 and I want to drink scotch like my granddad does, then you want to go and find yourself a bottle of Black Label.
Right.
You know, on your 21st birthday, not before, you little whippersnappers, you.
Are we getting anything specific, like tasting notes wise? Like, I know we didn't treat the red as a real whiskey, but I get like peaches, I guess, and apricots. What they were saying was on the red that I wasn't really tasting.
I get like a little sweet shortbread or graham cracker on this. Definitely honey. I don't get the apple I got on the other one because maybe it's hidden a little bit, but
it's a easy drinking whiskey. It is a little dry at the end.
It's a dry finish.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do the tasting notes. This is from the whiskey shelf as well. They're not all that different from the red, but they are slightly different. So on the nose, creamy honey and vanilla, dried strawberry, peach, pear, hint of peat, moss, and grass. Yeah, absolutely. On the palate, honey, vanilla, apricot, roasted biscuit, a little roasted oak, slight bitterness like fruit peel, and a hint of smoke and char. Yeah, we definitely taste smoke and char in this. On the finish, more honey, vanilla, apricot, roasted oak with a gentle, lingering smokiness.
Really good. Very, very benign whiskey. There's nothing wrong with it.
Stable. I forgot how much I enjoyed Johnnie Walker Black. Again, it's definitely a starter Scotch.
Right. I didn't like the red, but I actually like this.
I do like this.
Yeah.
That's where all three of us covered up our reds.
Yeah, the reds we were.
I did mine as a shot. That's why I just threw it right to the head.
He's just getting for the alcohol.
Yeah, I treat the red like I treat moonshine. Just get it down.
Just get this over with.
So I think that the black was a nice surprise, which makes me really interested in trying the
higher ones.
The higher ones now coming up.
So we'll take a break, and then we'll come back. I think we're going to taste the rye, and then continue on with the rest of the malts.
We're going to try like the weird one, the X Factor one that I found.
All right. We'll be right back. Okay, so we are back, and Ed has a description of the next whiskey that we're going to try, the Johnnie Walker high-rye blended Scotch whiskey.
Right. So it's aged at least 3 years. I think it's probably 4 because it's 60% rye.
Oh, interesting.
And then the rest are wheat and barley. It's finished in first and second fill American oak barrels. It's 90 proof. They said it should be at least $34. I got it for $35, so they nailed that one. It's different because it's 90 proof. It's also a high rye. I thought it would be something to kind of break up the core signature flavor profile of Johnnie Walker.
I bet it will.
And it's got an interesting color. They say it's a rich and rounded blend of whiskeys crafted from rye, barley, wheat, married with the finest single malts. So there is some single malts in here somewhere. All right.
It has a lighter nose.
It definitely has a lighter nose, but it still reminds me of a Scotch on the nose, unlike the red label.
The red label reminded me of the Scotch, but just a bad Scotch.
You can get a little bit of the heat off it. You notice the difference in that.
I mean, it does have a lot of the same notes as the black, except no smokiness whatsoever.
And I'm getting some of the, because it's been finished so much, I am getting a little bit of the woodiness or the oak.
Yeah, there's definitely some oakiness right at the end of the sniff. Starts off a little fruity, very light fruits, honey and pear.
It tastes completely different than what we were drinking.
Oh, this is
It's
interesting.
surprisingly delicious.
Yeah, this is really interesting.
$35 for something that's probably less than 4 years old. I mean, green apples.
Was not expecting much from this.
Yeah, this doesn't taste like a Scotch. This tastes more like an Irish whiskey.
Yes, very much so. It's very, very green appley, very sweet. The rye, it's hot, man. It's a hot 90. Hotter than the one we drank earlier that was 115.
Yeah, you can taste the extra 10 points of proof. Also mint.
Yeah.
I get sweet mint at the end of there.
Yeah.
I really like this.
It's really good.
Yeah.
$35. This might be the best buy of the summer so far.
Good pickup, Ed. This is really good.
I'm glad I grabbed this. I figured, I'm like, you know what? Scott hates when I do last minute audibles, but I just saw it sitting there. I'd never seen it before. If it had been one I'd seen before, I wouldn't have grabbed it. But
yeah, I've never seen
high-rye.
No, even in my research, I didn't come up with that in my searches.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I might have to go buy myself one of these bottles, but have to tell my wife that it's a Scotch.
Yeah.
Which it is. But it was coming off as an Irish whiskey, which she loves her Irish whiskey, loves her bourbons.
Yeah. What do you guys get on the finish real quick? It's kind of a quick finish, I think.
It's quicker than the black. It's so much better than the red.
Oh, yeah.
It has that mint that I was saying, and it's not as drying. So
it's not as drying as the black.
I still think it's a little dry. But
it's a little dry. But not as dry as the
No,
black.
the black was very dry.
Yeah.
I had longer tasting notes online, but this is on the bottle, so I figured I'd go with what they're saying today.
All right.
On the nose, sweet wood spice, fresh cut fruit, creamy vanilla. The taste is green apple. Oh, yeah, no doubt. Rich toffee and dried clove.
Ah.
The finish is dry rye spice. That's all they
Dry
have.
rye
Dry
spice.
rye spice.
That's really good. A nice surprise. All right, Johnny. All right.
That's the high rye, and they're definitely taking a step out. I think maybe recognizing a lot of the Irish whiskeys have come out with high rye versions. Some Canadian ones have as well. Crown Royal's led the parade on that. So now we're going to look at the Gold Label Reserve. Joe, have you ever had the Gold Label Reserve?
I have never had this before.
All right. This was introduced into the core brand range in 1995 and originally was called the Gold Label 18 year. It was inspired by Alexander Walker's 1920 sedentary blend and produced using his original blending notes. Despite the 18-year blend's popularity, it was discontinued in 2011, but relaunched as Gold Label Reserve in 2012. Johnnie Walker's master blender, Jim Beveridge, later confirmed that they had created a completely new expression to demonstrate the harmonious partnership of Speyside and Highland whiskies, balanced with a hint of smoky West Coast whiskey. The proof is 80. There is no age statement, but they are guesstimating somewhere between 12 and 18 years of age. It's again a mixture of malt and grain blend. The price is $60, but you can find it up around the 120s on the secondary market.
Yeah.
It's not always easy to find.
Yeah, so I should say that I got these at Total Wine. The black, the Gold Label, the 18, and the blue came in a 4-pack box, 200 milliliter bottles. Then separately, I bought the red in a 200 milliliter bottle. But then Ed bought us another whiskey.
Right. For $35, I figured,
Yeah.
who am I not to bring more whiskey?
Yeah, so shout out to Total Wine. Thank you.
Yeah. And shout out to Benash. For always being Benash.
And they're very close to each other.
They are. They're very close. Yeah. They just stand in the parking lot and gnarl fists at each other.
Damn you. They don't do that.
All right, so we're going into the Gold Label Reserve.
I mean, green apples again.
Yeah, and
on the
smoke.
nose.
There's a little smoke on this one.
Yeah,
Just
this is
kiss of it.
Back to the smoke. Yep. Not, I don't think, as much as on the black.
I think more.
Oh, do you?
More so, definitely
Oh,
in the
really?
taste.
Okay. Oh,
I went right to the taste.
that's okay.
Yes, much more smoke on the taste here. We're getting into more of a traditional flavor profile of a Scotch.
It's funny. It doesn't register to me as smokier than the black. I know what you're saying. What I'm getting more of is wood. So maybe it's like wood char and not real smoky.
Do
Besides
not need to see your wood.
It's not charred.
I mean, it's not overpoweringly woody. So you got me saying it. It's not.
This was your fault, Joe.
It's not overpoweringly smoky for sure.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but there's a sweetness that offsets it for me, I think.
The sweetness does offset it. I think it's a little too smoky for what this is. I think I would enjoy it more if it was less smoky.
Interesting.
My question to myself right now is, would I enjoy the 12-year aged black more than this? And I don't know. After we're done, I might have to try them side by side to get my own opinion.
Yeah, it would be interesting to try them side by side because you guys are tasting more smoke on this than.
Yeah.
Although the last sip I just took, I did get more smoke on it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe my palate was coated with the rye and I didn't cleanse, but oh, you're going to drop some water in.
That's a drop, yeah. Just a little bit.
Putting one drop.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like this is smoother than the black, but the black is a little better. Although, dropping some water in it
Oh, yeah.
makes it nice and fruity.
Yeah. That let a lot of sweetness
did.
out.
Yeah.
Wow. It's crazy. I literally put 2 drops in.
Yeah, me too.
It's so amazing.
Okay, so my opinion is now changed. It's
Right.
definitely different from the black,
Yeah.
but I think I like it just as much now with the water in it.
Yeah.
Even though it's 80, it doesn't really need it, but I guess it does. It's
It opened something up because that definitely was smoother and tasted
creamier.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm about to change my thoughts on Johnnie Walker. I took them right out. Didn't want any Johnnie Walkers on my bar anymore.
Yeah, yeah, you kinda
I
just-
basically went with red and black.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm done with those. But
They're
that
like-
high rye was fantastic.
Yeah.
This gold label now with when we put a couple,
And
just a drop.
If you can get that Gold Label for $60, I mean, that's pretty good whiskey. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But once again, they're like, hey, Joe, we've been around 125 years, you know.
We don't really care that you don't want to
No, I
sell
mean,
the bar.
just, you know, like, we are Johnny Walker. Like, you're treating us like basic bitches, but, you know.
We're the single most popular whiskey in the world.
No, not much call for it around here. They're the cheddar of scotches.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so I think before we take a break and move on.
Yeah, because we have the 18-year and the blue label coming. So we've kind of saved the best for last, so to speak. We want to hear a little overview of the Whiskey Tangent sponsored trip to Scotland and Ireland by Joe.
So June 20th, my wife and I and friends of ours, Jasper and Michelle, flew out to Scotland. We went to Glasgow. You don't need to go to Glasgow. We went there because it's the easiest way to get to the island of Islay.
Right.
And with me saying the easiest way, it still is not easy.
It's so hard to get there.
You can take a ferry, which is 4 or 5 hour ferry ride.
Wow.
Okay.
We took a plane ride over, which there were maybe 20, 24 people on this plane.
Was it a real plane? That's what I was going to ask.
It had
It's a
propellers. It was
tiny plane,
It was a
right?
tiny plane,
Yeah.
2 propellers.
Okay, 2 though.
One on each side.
Oh, right. Not one on the
But
front.
not on the front. It was
Okay.
one on each wing.
Right. Yeah, I hate when they're both on one wing. That freaks me out. It always flies at an angle.
So we get to Islay, and my buddy Jasper, it was on his bucket list to go to Lefroy. And we took a 2-hour tour with a tasting at the end, and it did not disappoint. We got to taste 3 different barrels that they had. First one was very weak. It wasn't bad. It
Right.
was just very light in what we were expecting. Then the second one we had, it was in a sherry cask, and it might be the best Lefroy Scotch I've ever had.
Really?
And like I said, my buddy, Lefroy is his number 1 Scotch.
How did he like it?
He loved it.
Yeah.
We wanted to find out how do we get a bottle of this home. They don't sell that. It was only available on the tour.
Oh.
They told us they had a sherry cask Lefroy in the shop for $300. And we're like, all right. So we were there with 3 couples. We were planning on splitting it, going in thirds, coming home with it, and only drinking it when we were at each other's house. We go in and taste it, and it was not the same thing that we tasted on the tour, which I'm glad we're able to taste it because
Sure.
it saved us
It saved you $300.
$300
Brought it
for
home.
getting this.
Yeah.
So when you go to Islay, there's 1 plane that comes into the island a day, and within the hour, that plane leaves.
Oh.
So we got in the one day.
And you have to stay there.
We have to stay there. So we stayed overnight. Great bed and breakfast place that we stayed at. The next day, Jasper hired a driver to take us around the whole island. Spectacular views. Water, crystal clear. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And then we continued our trip in Scotland. Went to, it's spelled Edinburgh, but they over there say Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
Fantastic. I mean, castles. The hotel that we're in looked like a castle.
Oh.
The views, wonderful. Drinks, wonderful. People, wonderful. And we completely understood their accents.
Oh, had no problem.
No problem whatsoever. Then we get over to Ireland. I don't know what the fuck they were saying.
Really? That's so funny because people usually complain that they can't understand Scottish accents.
We understood every Scottish person we talked to.
Oh, that's so funny.
We get over to Ireland. We're like, what the fuck are they saying? Went to this off the beaten path bar the first night. This old man, him and another old gentleman playing up front. This bar is packed. Everyone in that bar is singing to one another. People are buying, like you don't even know anyone. Someone bought me a shot of, what's the Irish whiskey over there? Jameson.
Jameson,
Someone
yeah.
bought me a shot of Jameson.
That's the Irish whiskey over here too, Joe. Here we think Joe's going for some obscure thing.
Yeah, but
I bet it's different Jameson than we get.
Maybe.
it might be. I was 4 Guinnesses into this by the time
Right.
coming
Yeah,
around.
you weren't tasting. Yeah. I got
But if you've never been over to Scotland or Ireland, I highly recommend it. Our trip got derailed a bit because Aer Lingus, the pilots were going on strike the day that we were
Oh, jeez.
flying home.
Yeah. You
And
should have flown Cunny.
Cunny Lingus?
Yeah, you should have been on Cunny Lingus.
yeah, Cunny Lingus would work.
Better than Aer Lingus did.
Aer Lingus did not work for us.
Oh, my God.
Usually Cunny Lingus gets you where you need to go.
It gets her where
Well,
Right.
That's right, yeah.
Right. Well, but it all comes back to you if you do it right. It always gets you ahead. You know what I mean, Joe? Go ahead. You were
But I will say, with Aer Lingus going on strike,
Yes.
we had to modify our trip. So one of our days, we just spent the whole day traveling. We had to drive all the way across Ireland from the west coast to the east coast,
Right.
drop our car off at Dublin, take a 2.5-hour train ride up to Belfast, where my buddy Jasper almost got thrown out of the airport because he's bullheaded.
He was disagreeing with the way they were handling things.
He was asked to move over, and he just didn't want to be told to do something. Then it was a 2-hour flight down to London, but it gave us 2 days in London, which we weren't expecting to do, and that was fantastic.
2 days in London.
2 days in London.
Wow. That was a hell of a trip.
Yeah, it was amazing. So I was on the fly. My wife, Lisa, she was able to get all this arranged and make it work.
Yeah, she's a special lady.
Awesome.
Well, good. I'm glad you had such a good time, and I'm assuming the Aer Lingus strike is why we never got over the Johnnie Walker like we asked you to, but
That's right.
anyway.
I had to rush across the country.
That's right.
Yeah. Jasper didn't want to go, and he didn't want to have a fist fight with Jasper.
Jasper's like, I don't want to drink any of that damn ass Johnnie Walker. So we're going to wash the glasses. We're going to come back with the 18-year and the blue label. The infamous blue. Yeah, ever had that blue label? Oh, you guys got a whiskey podcast? All right, so let's clean the glasses. We'll be right back.
All right. All right, we are back for our last two expressions, the 18-year and the blue label, and Ed's going to first tell us about the 18-year.
Yeah.
Before you get started, I'm just wondering, are you guys ever going to put on clothes today?
Well, it's the air conditioning's not really doing what I thought it would. Of course, he's joking, and we're both wearing loincloths because of the Olympics.
Right, we're not completely naked.
The traditional Greek garb.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
We had our togas on, but now it's just
Right.
loincloths.
Yeah.
With the laurel around the head.
Laurels, yes.
Yeah. Except the only event we seem to be doing is the javelin around here, if you know what I mean. All right, so anyway.
The pole vault in my case, but
Oh, shit. All right, so the 18 years gone through a tremendous journey in Johnnie Walker. It's been So introduced in 2011, the Platinum Label 18-year was initially launched as a travel retail exclusive for the Asian and Far East market, think Blanton's, to replace the popular discontinued Gold Label 18. That's the one I grew up on.
Yeah.
Just kidding, I never had it. In 2012, it joined the core range, becoming the brand's oldest age statement expression, created by master blender Jim Beveridge.
great name.
It's a great name for somebody in the industry. Anyway, this one blends 18 whiskeys from across Scotland, and in 2017, the Platinum Label was rebranded with the charcoal gray outer packaging and the Platinum Label replaced with the golden brown scheme, and the word Platinum was removed in favor of an enlarged 18-year age statement. Is that what this is?
Yep.
Okay, so the 18-year has a proof of 80, got an 18-year age statement, so it's 18 years. It's again a mix of malt and grain. They said 18 different whiskeys, and you can find it in stores for between $80 and $90. Now, we'll determine, because 60 is fine. There's a lot of whiskeys at 60. But once you start to get into the 80, 90, we're going to judge whether it's worthy. But it's not too many 18-year-olds that you find below $80.
No.
In fact, I think it was a 16-year Crown Royal was probably the cheapest I've ever, what was it, like $65 for that or something?
Yeah, that wasn't very expensive.
Yeah, so
for
that was,
being a 16.
I remember us thinking that was probably one of the best. If you actually can get this for $80, I say you're getting a bargain on paper. Now, we'll determine once we taste it whether that's the case. And so we're going to take a little run at it right now, smelling it.
I'm trying to determine how this compares with the Gold Label.
Yeah, it's similar, but not as smoky.
It's, yeah.
Not on the nose, anyway.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. It's a little fruitier and a little less smoky. It smells very good. It's very pleasant. There's no off notes there or anything. Similar, the honeyed.
Yep, honey, the little green apple.
Like the apricot, peachy
Yep,
kind of
peachy,
quality.
Very fruity on the nose. With the second pass of the nose, I'm getting a little bit of smoke now.
I mean, maybe a little like cinnamon.
The nose is good.
Yeah.
But there's no scent coming out to me that...
No.
It's a subtle nose.
It is. It's very
It's more
subtle.
subtle than the black was, that's for sure. All right, let's taste it.
Oh.
Ooh, very smooth. Wow.
Has a little bit of a punch to it, even though it's smooth.
It's complex, is what I would say. For an 80 proof whiskey, we're getting into something that is more complex than I'm used to dealing with at this proof range.
It's very malty.
Yes. The finish is very like malty, smoky, herbaceous. There's no fruit left on the finish.
I'm torn.
Yeah,
on
you have a
this.
little frown on your face. What are you thinking?
I don't know. Like, Ed opened this up with trying to find out, is this worth $90? My first instinct is no. But it's not that it's not good.
Is it better than the Gold Reserve for $60? Is it $20
Right, is it-
more?
I don't think it is.
No,
Like,
not for $20 or $30 more for a bottle.
I almost wonder if we should have got like 5 glasses out.
I know.
Well, 4 glasses out.
And we compared
just
them
gone
all.
right down the road. Like
Yeah.
like ding ding ling ding ding ling, just shaking each one, picking one up, like the black to the gold reserve to the 18 and all that. But it's hard, even though we just had the gold reserve, to remember.
Well, okay, so I remember what we did with the gold label is that we put some water into it and we liked it a lot better. So
Yeah.
let's try that.
I feel like it opened up a lot more sweetness, but we'll see what you guys say.
Yeah, same thing it did to the gold label. But I think I like the gold label better, at least my recollection of it. We could, of course, get it out and try it again.
It's right there.
Yeah, it is. It's literally right there.
I mean, if you want to do that, we can grab it. I'm down for that. I like this better in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's grab it. They're so close in age. Yeah, we're doing an audible, which is fine because it's 80 proof and we can drink this all day.
A few moments later.
So the gold label
Right, going back to the gold label.
and the.
Did you
18.
put your splash in? That's when we really like the...
All right.
Yeah,
so,
you're right. You're right.
Right, so put a drop in. Right, boop. 2 drops for me.
Okay. So right away, without putting the water in the gold label, it has a little bit more, I don't know, flavor to it overall. They're very similar. They're almost the same, except I think that the 18-year kind of was a little muted. It has an off note on the finish that I can't really, maybe it's too oaky, and it's also a little more drying.
I think that the gold is more smoky. No one else gets that?
Well, it is before I put the water in it. It was very smoky.
But even after I'm getting
Even
more
after the
smoke, I'm on the 18 more than the gold, but the gold's very good.
Yeah.
I think I'm just the opposite. I think I like the gold better than the 18.
And that's where I am too.
And again, my decisions a lot of the times come down to the price.
Yeah.
Is it worth the $20, $30 more?
For me, it is. This has been my favorite of the day.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Well, no, the high-rye is my favorite, but I
Yeah.
meant of the traditional line.
Gotcha. Yeah, this one just, I don't know, it has more character to it to me.
The gold.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I like them both, but I think
fully-
I like the gold a little bit better.
Very similar.
Which is good for a 100-year-old established brand. But if I drank Johnnie Walker every day of the week, I bet I could tell more differences between them.
I mean, it was meant to replace
Yes.
the gold label, so
Yes.
it's actually not all that surprising that they're similar.
Right.
So the tasting notes for the 18-year from the Master of Malt. Oh, I didn't do the tasting notes of the gold label. Well, this was actually good because
Yeah.
the gold label and the platinum are similar. So
You mean
let's
the
see.
gold label and the 18?
The 18. So the gold label from the Master of Malt. These are both from Master of Malt. On the nose, honey and heather and thick caramel notes and a subtle nutmeg spice, dried meadow flowers and a hint of fresh banana. Interesting. On the palate, smooth and succulent with a honeyed sweetness that's typical of Johnnie Walker. There's more to this, though. The floral elements are quite prominent, and there's a spiced sweet vanilla note, too. On the finish, long, sweet, and toffee-like. That's the gold label. Do we agree with that? I mean...
I will say this. Honey runs through the whole brand.
Absolutely.
They're almost like a honey whiskey. It's crazy. It's almost like a mead.
He's not tasting any smoke on this, though.
On the gold.
On the gold.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. It's certainly not overly smoky.
No, but there's
you
some.
can't say there's not a hint of smoke.
Yeah. All right. So the 18-year, same guy. On the nose, honeyed cereals, Cadbury fruit and nut candy bar, clementine, spring blossoms, and distant bonfire smoke. So he got more smoke on the 18-year.
I didn't get that.
I have it completely reversed. I think all of us do.
On the palate, peanut brittle, candied peels, plump sultana raisins, and a whisper of floral malt that gives it an aromatic mid-palate before giving way to a whisper of dry, earthy smoke.
I mean, I get all the fruit sweetness on it, so I'm right there with them. And I get all the malt and oak on the finish. So I see you guys making faces, and it's fine.
Ooh.
That's how I tasted it. I tasted the 18 like he did.
On the finish, another wave of honey with a soft hint of cinnamon spiciness. So I got the cinnamon.
I thought it was delicious.
I like it.
But would I spend to go in Joe's world?
Right.
No, I wouldn't spend 80 or 90 on it. I wouldn't. There's other stuff I want to drink in the price range.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was at someone's house, like, hey, you want some Johnnie Walker 18? I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I want Johnnie Walker 18.
Absolutely.
I'll drink that. But do I want to buy a bottle and have it? No. But you know what? I might do what I told Joe to do and buy that sleeve. So,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, the 4-pack of the 200 milliliter bottles.
Right. I mean, $83 for that seems like an absolute
sounds
bargain.
like a great deal.
Yeah. And it may even be more of a bargain if we really like the next spirit.
Well,
How's that for a segue?
Well, it's a bargain because it's $240
Yeah.
or whatever it is now.
The blue label.
Right, so let's clear our palates completely because this is a, hey, you ever had that Johnnie Walker Blue? Well, now I'll be able to say, yes, I have. Shut the fuck up.
Or you might be like, I have, and you're right, it's pretty good.
Yeah, so let's all give us a good nosing, okay?
Oh, you read the description?
Sure, go ahead. Oh, that's my job.
Yeah.
I'm like, go ahead, Scott. Oh, wait, I am doing that. Hey, you feel like reading one? Go ahead.
Yeah, Joe,
go ahead, read one. You
read
can-
the blue label.
There you go.
We got the Blue Label here. It's the most prestigious Johnnie Walker blend in the core range. Blue Label was first released in 1992 as Johnnie Walker Oldest, before being rebranded as Blue Label in 1994. It is a premium blend designed to recreate the style and flavors of classic early 19th century whiskey blends, and is one of the most expensive blended Scotch whiskies on the market, with only one in every 10,000 casks selected for bottling. Each Blue Label bottle is numbered serially and packaged in a silk-lined presentation box, accompanied by a certificate of authenticity.
Nice.
Very good. The proof is 80. The age is 70 to 50.
Yeah. They have all kinds of different
They have all kinds
blends
of, so
in there, yeah.
there's no age statement. And
No.
and just once again to reaffirm to people who don't know this, no age statement doesn't always mean a bad thing.
Right.
Because what happens is if you certify, you have to be certified by your youngest expression. So if you have a 7 in there, that would make you a 7-year, even if you have 30-year, 40-year, and 50-year whiskeys as well. Again, a mixture of malt and grain blends. The list price is $231. I've seen it on sales for $170, $180. You can find it, especially around the holidays. So if you're getting it for $270, you know you're paying a little more. And if you see it for $190, you're like, oh, this is a good deal.
So I want to interject here.
Sure.
Buddy of mine, when I got into scotches 10 or so years ago, he wanted to see if I really knew what I was doing. And my wife and I visit, him and his wife, and he brings out this bottle of Johnnie Walker Blue. He goes, Joe, look what I got. Johnnie Walker Blue. Have you ever had it? I go, no, I've never had this. I heard it's fantastic. Pours this and was not Johnnie Walker Blue.
Right.
I just looked at
Right.
my buddy. I'm like,
It's not- you said
you
it's not-
got to be shitting me. This is not. I go, this is awful. So he got his hands on a Johnnie Walker Blue bottle, emptied. It was Johnnie Walker Red that he tried to play it off
trying to
as
troll
Johnnie
you.
Walker. He wanted to see if I knew what
Right, if
I
you would
was
just
doing.
suck them off because of the bottle.
Oh my God, this is great. I'm like, oh, this is awful.
A similar,
That's funny.
similar thing happened to me. I was in a restaurant and a friend of mine knew the owner, and the owner had quite a collection of, and he said, hey, I hear you got a podcast, you're good at whiskey. I said, yeah. I said, what do you want? I said, I don't know, this is your place. I said, pour me something that you think I would like. I'm going to go to the bathroom. So I came back and there was a dram sitting there and everybody was sitting around. I took a sip of it and I said, wow, this is one of the most remarkable whiskeys that's ever been in my mouth. I've never tasted anything quite like this. This is extraordinary. I honestly have no idea what this is.
And he's like, it's Jim Beam White Label.
No, he said it was the Heaven Hill Boot Hill Mazzaro cask. It's
Yeah.
a $700 bottle. And he's like, he just laughed and smiled. He goes, that's exactly what you should have said.
Yeah.
You got the complete opposite experience
Yeah, it
that
was
I
an
had.
anti-troll.
Right. So I was
Yeah.
like, right, the anti-troll was like,
That's right.
he wanted me to be like, it's all right. It was just, I knew right away though. I was like, this is elite. And he pulled
$700
and it was this like
bottle.
white ceramic bottle came out. Because had I come like, oh, it's all right. What is it? Like, is it like Woodford Reserve? They'd be like, you fucking fraud. But all right, so let's taste it. Ready to taste it?
Well,
Right,
let's smell it.
Let's smell it first.
Let's smell it. So I've been smelling it, and
It's benign?
no, to me, it's had the deepest nose of all of them. I can actually smell smoke on this one. I don't know.
No, it's fine. I mean, to be honest, I thought the black had the strongest nose because I thought it was a little rawer.
Well, I want to explain to the audience that you're both looking at me like I'm crazy.
Now I'm getting some more because I don't know. Maybe it takes a second to kind of register.
I don't know. I just got so much off of this
I get
one.
some smoke on this. This is one of the smokiest noses. I will say
Yes,
that.
this was smokier on the nose, even more than the black
Swirl
was.
it a bit. Come back in if you're not
yeah.
getting it.
I have been swirling.
Well, cover it and swirl.
Well, also tilt it towards you like this.
Yeah, put your nose in the center of the glass.
I must have not been smelling correctly because I am getting it now.
I really like the smell of this. This smells
smell
wonderful.
good.
I mean, there's not much beyond what I could describe as smoke and sweet.
honey and
yeah,
sugar.
the same things that we're getting.
Ooh.
These are all similar.
Ooh.
You definitely taste the smoke.
Yeah, there's smoke on the
Yeah.
flavor.
Oh,
but
for sure.
Oh,
But
that's right up front.
not overpowering, but there.
No.
It's there. It's,
A saltiness. Are you
Like
guys getting a
brine.
A brine, yeah.
my God, that's exactly what I was about to say.
Because it reminded me of bacon. Slightly meaty, but I think that's just the smoke
This
and the
is not
salt.
what I remember. I tried this like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, I never had this one.
This is so salty
This is
and
the
briny.
second time having the Johnnie Walker Blue. I remember enjoying it, but again, it's outside my price range.
Yeah.
Am I going to spend $230?
No, I'd
on
rather
this?
get the Signet from Glenmorangie before I got this.
I did not put any water in there to open up the flavors.
No, but I'm going to do that.
This one has a cork. The other ones didn't. You notice that? All the other ones were screw
They're
tops.
screw tops.
This is a little tiny cork.
Yeah.
Cutest little cork ever.
It knows how good it is.
Yeah, I'm putting some water in here. It doesn't need it, but see what it opens up. Like the smoke has been a surprise, I think, because it was a little smokier than the 18
The
is.
smoke comes out and hits you,
Yeah.
but it's not overpowering.
No, it has been to me smoke the way it should be done, not the way that Ardbeg and Lefroy does it, which people who like peat and smoke, that's what you want. I'm saying for me, that's why I don't like it, because it's overpowering. This is just a kiss. It's a kiss at the end of the sip, so to speak.
Yeah. I'm getting much deeper flavors in this, things that I would normally associate with bourbon, like a little bit of light caramel.
Yeah.
At the end,
Yes.
and some
Yes.
cinnamon
Yes.
and
I was
baking
gonna say-
spices,
I was saying burnt toffee.
burnt toffee.
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
and that was before the water, so I'm going to put like 3
This is
drops.
absolutely better than I remember. Again,
Yeah.
it's been 5, 6, 7 years since I've had
Would
this.
we say this is better than the Golden 18s?
Yeah. Yes.
Significantly?
Yeah, yeah.
Significantly.
And-
This is
and-
number one.
and I can see why people do
Yeah.
gush over it. It is the best one that we drank
It's
tonight.
the best one we've had.
Absolutely.
But again,
I was ready to just send this.
I was too.
I was ready to like basketball shot. I was about to block this into the third row. I really was. I was about to be like, fuck your blue label. I'm so tired of hearing about your blue label.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, it's much better than I expected it to be.
Yeah, you were trying to be
But to
Dikembe.
get into, is it
Dikembe.
is
No,
it
no.
$231?
Well,
No.
no,
No,
not to me.
I don't think it's a $231 bottle.
This is a wonderful whiskey that's not worth over 200.
But wait, if it was $1.25, would you consider it?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
sure.
If it was $1.50, would you get it? Nah, you're thinking about it, right? Isn't it funny how it
I'm
happens?
thinking
Right.
about it.
Like now you're thinking once a year to have it on the shelf, I'll do it.
Well, the 125 was already getting there.
Right.
150, no.
I'm going to go buy one of these.
Are you? The pack?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
worth
Yeah.
having. I
Absolutely.
liked all of them enough to have in my house.
Yeah.
And I don't have any. I think I have a monkey shoulder somewhere, which is really sad if that's all you have for Scotch.
Right.
I know. And
Yeah.
Joe's justified looking at me.
Well, again, monkey shoulder, like the red, is made for mixing in cocktails.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but-
was not a fan of monkey shoulder.
Right. It's what bourbon people think is Scotch.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, it's because of this podcast
Right.
that has turned me. I originally started in Scotch,
Yeah.
Right.
and now I consider myself more of a bourbon person.
Right. And it's because of your inclusion of the podcast that I have a better understanding of what I like about
Absolutely.
Scotches.
Yes.
So I think the blue label,
It's a winner. It really is.
it's a winner for us, and it's not worth the money to us. But if
Just-
you're looking at the Johnnie Walker line, it's exactly where it should be. It's at the top. It's worth whatever you feel like you want to pay for it. If you want to buy one bottle a year and have it at Christmas and sip on it with your good friends, or you want to split it with a buddy,
then
because
it's worth it.
I'll tell you right now, split it with a buddy hurts less, right? Scott and I have split bottles and makes it a lot less painful.
Yeah.
We're about to split that bottle we just got that we tried that's coming out next week.
Are
He
we?
doesn't know it yet.
Are we? $50, please.
Because I love it. And-
$20 shipping, so
we're
$60.
We're gonna send Joe home with the dram of that.
Delivery fee.
Yeah. All right, so let's do the tasting notes.
Right.
On the nose, this is again master of malt, fragrant with notes of oak, crisp spice, dried fruit, pastries, berry, anise, cedar, and citrus.
Yeah.
On the palate, supple and balanced with toffee,
Yep.
chocolate, malt, and hints of grass and wistful smoke.
Wisps of smoke. I love that. Yeah.
On the finish, a good length of floral and oaky notes with dried fruit, spice, honey, and a plume of very well kept Highland-style smoke.
Absolutely.
Wow, I love it.
Absolutely.
And we talked about, I don't think talked about on air, about the ghost whiskeys, right?
Yeah.
So there's some blues out there that were made with whiskeys from distilleries that no longer exist because they're so old. One's called the Ghost of Port Ellen, I think, and
Port
there's
Ellen.
another one of
Yep.
Barbalo or something. So there's different expressions of the blue that you can go out there and get, and they're really expensive. I mean, they're
Yeah, right, because the blue is expensive already when you do a limited edition blue.
Right.
Then now you're talking $500.
and they do a lot of unique expressions of Johnnie Walker, right? With the, are you going to talk about
Well,
them?
I didn't really create a formal list, but we can talk about their two other core expressions. So the two that we didn't taste tonight from their core expression, the double black and the green,
Right.
and just explain what they are. So the double black, it was created using the same 40 whiskeys as Black Label, but in different proportions and no age statement, suggesting that younger peated whiskey is used to create the blend. The whiskeys are matured in heavily charred oak
That's what
casks.
alligator char.
Yeah,
give
that's
it
why it's
extra-
double black, because
To give it the extra smoke, right?
it's almost like double barreled.
I don't know what alligator char is.
So they char it so much that it looks like alligator skin.
Okay,
where
right.
it splits. Like,
Right. Yeah. So it's really, really smoky.
Yeah, to ensure a bold, smoky whiskey with Johnnie Walker's usual rich malty core. It's 80 proof and about $45.
Right.
The green label, it's the only one that's not blended. So this
Yes.
is initially released as Johnnie Walker Pure Malt 15 year in 1997 to appeal to single malt whiskey drinkers, as it contains no grain whiskey with as many as 27 single malts. And it was renamed Green Label in 2004, discontinued in 2012, brought back in 2014, and made a core expression in 2016. It's 80 proof again and about $69 average.
Right.
whiskey.
There's concern, Scott, that it's not the same juice.
Oh, that it was when they discontinued it and
Right.
when they
and brought it back.
Yeah.
I've seen some experts online say they can't tell the difference. So that's good enough for me. With my Johnnie Walker palate, I'm sure I would
Sure,
be.
right.
I'm sure it'd be fine for me. All right.
Well, the one thing I got from this podcast is a new appreciation for Johnnie Walker.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going out and getting that 4-pack.
Yep. And you could also try it on your own and figure out, is there a bigger bottle you'd want to have, and revisit it. That's great, Joe, that you stated that, because I think it's like the last time I tasted a Wild Turkey 101, I'm like, you know what? This is a good fucking whiskey. It's 7 years. I just haven't had a chance to visit it because it seems so basic.
Yeah.
And sometimes you go back to your roots a bit and you're like, nah.
Joe and I were talking off air, and I said almost the same exact thing that you're saying. Sometimes it's really cool to go back and drink something you haven't drank in a long time just because you've moved past it. But then it makes you remember why you liked it so much in the first place.
Right. Some you've grown up and moved on, and some it's like, no, I've just been distracted.
Yeah.
It's still just as good as it always was.
Yeah, because you're always kind of chasing
Yeah.
the newest, greatest, latest thing, and you always want something
Yeah.
a little different.
I think Woodford Reserve is like a Johnnie Walker Black to me. It's always going to be good. It's
always gonna be there. Yeah.
There's some more complex stuff, but if I just want to curl up on the couch with an old friend, I get some Woodford Reserve.
And Joe, what you said about gaining a new appreciation for Johnnie Walker, absolutely. This episode
Me
did
also.
that.
I'm
Yeah.
right there with you. And what's funny is they would, if anyone from Johnnie Walker was here, I mean, even the guy that just loads the trucks, he would be like, no offense, guys, but do you know who we are?
We're Johnnie Walker.
We're an icon. We're the cornerstone of the Scotch industry. We've been around for a century plus.
Yeah.
Excuse you.
I know. We are chagrined.
Right.
We are.
Even Chivas is like, yeah, they're good.
I was surprised to see Valentine's as number 2.
Me too.
I was like, Valentine's is number 2 because I thought it was going to be Chivas Regal.
that must be the Scotch that Scotch people drink.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's Scotchy Scotch.
Right. All right. So I think we've done a great job of paying tribute to an iconic brand that's been around a long time.
Yeah, this is a lot of
We
fun.
went deep on them. We shit on the red a bit, but we were pretty open for everything else.
Well, the red is shitty.
And they know that.
Yeah.
They know that. And if you drink the red at home and you like it, well, good for you. Who are we?
Yeah,
Who are we to rain on your parade? We're nobody.
That's fine. You
Yeah,
drink what you
drink
want
what
to
you
drink.
want.
Yeah.
Drink what you want.
But
Try the black.
try the black. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Right. Just scrape together some recycling and get an extra $10 and go get the black.
Right.
All right. So if there's nothing else,
No.
I want to thank Joe for being here.
Thanks so much, Joe.
Our Scotch expert, and Scott for all his hard work in the preparation and the purchasing of the Scotches. And so if you got a chance to try Johnnie Walker again for the first time, feels like the first time.
Feels like the very first time.
For the Whiskey Tangent Podcast, I'm Ed.
I'm Scott.
I'm Joe.
Cheers, everybody.
Later.